differently.
There's a moment in 8th grade that's easy to miss if you've never felt it yourself. Kayla is at a pool party, surrounded by noise, color, laughter, kids being kids. But it looks like she's fading. Not physically, but emotionally. It's as if she's trying to become invisible. The camera doesn't cut away. Instead, it just holds the shot. And so do we. That's the power of Bo Burnham's 8th grade. It doesn't try to explain anxiety. It lives in it. It captures the low hum of self-doubt, the constant pressure to perform, and the dissonance between how we appear and how we feel. And it manages to do all of this without ever feeling like it's lecturing the audience. In this video, I want to explore how 8th grade achieves that. We'll look at Bo Burnham's unique perspective as a comedian turned director, how the film visualizes anxiety without over-dramatizing it, and how its quietest moments, especially the scene between Kayla and her dad, might be the most powerful. I'll also touch on why this film resonated with me personally, and why I think it's one of the most accurate portrayals of mental health ever put to screen. It's worth remembering that anxiety doesn't always look like a dramatic panic attack or a breakdown. Sometimes it looks like a kid just trying to find the courage to step outside and join the party. It would be easy to call 8th grade a coming-of-age film and just leave it at that, but that label misses the point. This isn't a story about becoming someone else. It's about surviving the days when you're not sure who you are. Bo Burnham doesn't offer us with a solution to anxiety. He offers a mirror, and for many of us, that's the most honest and generous thing art can do. What makes 8th grade so powerful isn't just its realism, it's the way it refuses to sensationalize pain. It understands that the hardest part of growing up isn't facing the world, it's facing yourself. And that sometimes bravery looks like showing up anyway, even when it feels like you're crawling out of your skin. 8th grade does something rare in contemporary coming-of-age cinema. It treats adolescent anxiety not as a dramatic obstacle, but rather as a sustained, embodied experience. Rather than externalizing Kayla's struggles through plot mechanics or melodramatic cues, the film immerses us in her subjectivity, quietly but unrelentingly. Burnham's direction emphasizes sensory overwhelm. The lighting is overexposed in sterile, clinical ways. Diegetic sound is exaggerated to create tension where none technically exists. The breath, lockers, the whir of overhead projectors. These stylistic choices mirror how anxiety alters perception. Time stretches. Silence becomes unbearable. The mundane feels vaguely threatening. The camera rarely offers Kayla control of the frame. She is often peripheral or isolated in the composition, reinforcing her sense of disconnection. Crucially, Burnham refrains from diagnosing or editorializing. Social media, for example, is not framed as the cause of Kayla's anxiety, but rather as a sort of stage. Her YouTube videos function less as a plot device and more as a formal metaphor, artifacts of aspirational identity. When she offers advice to her imagined audience, we're watching an adolescent effort to construct stability within an unstable self. This tension between interiority and outward performance is carried almost entirely by Elsie Fisher's performance. It's stripped of affect. Her delivery is hesitant, nonlinear, full of ums, pauses, aborted thoughts, language shaped by fear of being seen and fear of not being seen simultaneously. One particular moment where Kayla rehearses a smile in the mirror encapsulates the film's emotional architecture. There is no dialogue, no dramatic incident, only a face trying to look away. The summer before I started 8th grade was the first time I personally felt the physiological effects of anxiety. I couldn't explain it, and I didn't have full blown panic attacks, but I always felt like something was wrong, like there was a hum in the background of my brain that wouldn't turn off. I tried to appear and sound like someone who had it together. I rehearsed conversations, even retroactively, playing them back in my head and rewriting them, wishing I had said something differently. When I'd catch my reflection in the mirror, I'd ask myself, is this really me? Is the experience I'm having really life? Watching Kayla, it all came rushing back, not because it was dramatic, but because it wasn't. It felt real, a little too real at times. One of the most unsettling truths in 8th grade is that Kayla doesn't seem to know who she is, not because she's confused, but because the world hasn't given her space to find out. Every part of her life demands performance. At school, she's invisible. Online, she's exaggerated. At home, she's evasive. Her YouTube channel becomes a site of self invention. But it's not deception, it's survival. She's trying to become the person she thinks other people want to see. This is where Burnham's work feels less like social commentary and more like personal philosophy. His fascination with performance isn't just about being on stage, it's about the way we live now, through curated social media feeds, filtered selfies, and carefully constructed captions. We are all performing. Kayla's generation may have inherited this condition, but it's not unique to them. It's just more visible. Burnham doesn't moralize this, however. He doesn't tell us that performance is bad. He just shows us that it's exhausting, that it's lonely, that it fractures us. Kayla's anxiety isn't rooted in any one trauma. It's the byproduct of constantly pretending she's okay when she's not. What makes 8th grade so emotionally piercing is that it never forces Kayla into a dramatic identity crisis. There's no third act speech, no viral breakthrough. She just keeps trying. She keeps filming. She keeps showing up. It's not resolution, it's resilience. And if Make Happy is Burnham confronting the audience, Inside is Burnham confronting himself. In many ways, inside is what happens when the performance becomes the only self you recognize. It's isolated, recursive, and fractured by design. Where Kayla's world is framed in natural light and awkward silence, inside is lit by LED panels and colored by digital noise. It's the same anxiety evolved into something much more difficult to escape. But that's what makes 8th grade so essential in Burnham's body of work. It's the only piece that looks outward. It's not cyclical. It's not self-destructive. It offers a glimpse of what it means to be unfinished and still worthy of care. The film doesn't ask Kayla to be authentic. It just asks her to keep trying. Before his directorial debut, Bo Burnham had already built a reputation, not just as a comedian, but as a performer deeply invested in the mechanics of performance itself. His earlier specials, What and Make Happy, are equal parts stand-up, theater, and meta-commentary. They are densely constructed works where jokes often double back to reveal discomfort, where punchlines dissolve into confession. But its Make Happy, and more specifically its closing number Can't Handle This, that crystallizes Burnham's ethos the best. What begins as a parody of Kanye West's hyper-theatrical rants becomes something closer to a soliloquy. He talks about his audience's expectations, his fear of disappointing them, and most memorably, the absurdity of wanting to be liked by strangers while simultaneously resenting the need for that very validation. The comedy evaporates. the lights drop, and what's left is one person on stage saying, "If you can live your life without an audience, you should do it." That line echoes in 8th grade like a thesis. Kayla doesn't have a real audience, just a few YouTube subscribers that are mostly silent. But her desire to be seen and liked, to perform a more confident version of herself, is just as intense. She rehearses conversations. She gives advice she doesn't take. She makes content no one watches. In other words, she does exactly what Burnham has done, only on a smaller scale and without the spotlight. The link between Make Happy and 8th grade isn't just thematic, it's formal. Burnham directs Kayla's life with the same tonal dissonance he applied to his stage shows. The comedic and the tragic are adjacent, sometimes indistinguishable. Moments of humor are immediately followed by silence. Joy curdles into embarrassment. In both works, there's a disorienting intimacy, a sense that we're watching someone try very hard to hold themselves together. What distinguishes Burnham as a filmmaker is his refusal to resolve this tension. He doesn't offer catharsis. He doesn't reassure the audience that everything will be okay. In 8th grade, just like in Make Happy, what we get instead is something more honest, a portrait of the self as a performance that never quite fit. The line that I will never forget is, "Come and watch the skinny kid with a steadily declining mental health and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself." This line rings true not only for me, but for Kayla as well. For a film about anxiety, 8th grade rarely slows down long enough to offer comfort. It lives in awkward silences, nervous energy, and secondhand embarrassment. But in the final act, there's a shift, subtle, quiet, and completely disarming. It happens in the backyard between Kayla and her dad. After burning a memory box of the videos she made as a child, Kayla finally breaks down. She asks the question that's been building under the surface for the entire movie. Do I make you sad? Her father hesitates, not because he's unsure, but because he wants to say it right. It's not sad, he tells her. You know, sometimes I'll see you struggling and I want to help, but I'm not sad. You don't make me sad. That distinction matters. He acknowledges her pain without making it her identity. He doesn't diminish her anxiety. He holds space for it. And then he tells her the truth, that watching her grow up has made him feel like the luckiest person in the world. In a film defined by performance, this is the only scene without it. No facade, no posing, no curated self, just a daughter and her father sitting in the glow of a backyard fire, saying what needs to be said. Burnham directs the moment with restraint. Static shots, soft lighting, no music. He lets the honesty breathe. What's remarkable is how this scene doesn't fix anything. Kayla's anxiety doesn't magically disappear. She doesn't suddenly become outgoing or fearless. But for the first time, we see her begin to believe that maybe she's enough. Not because she's confident or successful, but because someone saw her clearly and chose to stay. This is where 8th grade transcends the coming-of-age formula. It doesn't suggest that adolescence is something to be conquered, but something to be endured. And in that moment between Kayla and her dad, we get the film's quiet thesis, that the antidote to anxiety isn't confidence, it's connection. Watching 8th grade now, it feels like someone finally captured the experience that I had when I was in middle school into a concrete picture, or at least gestures and glances. There's something radical about that kind of recognition, because when you see yourself in a story, you're no longer struggling alone. You feel seen. In a culture that now tries to prioritize mental health awareness, we're often reminded to talk about our feelings, to reach out, to be kind to ourselves. 8th grade doesn't contradict this idea. It deepens it. It reminds us that the journey inward can be just as difficult as the journey forward, and that even if we never fully figure it out, that doesn't mean we're failing. It just means we're human. I would like to end this by saying thank you for not only watching this video, but thank you to everyone who has become a listener of the podcast, whether that is on Spotify or here on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who made the Transformers video what it was. I truly did not expect that when I made that video. This has been a really surprising year as far as the podcast and the channel goes, and hopefully we can continue to build off of that. Thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and I would like to extend thanks for Jesse as well, because I know that he shares the same sentiments even though he's not here to tell you himself. Other than that, that's going to do it for today, and that will do it for 2025. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you liked the video, consider subscribing to the channel and check out the Transformers video, since it is far and away my most popular and successful video on here. If you think that you might be interested in what Jesse and I have to say about movies in general, follow Below the Line podcast on Spotify or whichever podcast platform you choose to interface with. Thank you, everybody, for making this a truly special and surprising, unexpected year. It has meant a lot, and hopefully we can continue to expand and just make things better for you next year, make things more entertaining for you. I hope you're all doing well. Peace. Plants. Namaste.